r/AskReddit. Divorce lawyers of Reddit. What things do clients always think is unique about their divorce, but is actually common? There are two main areas I've seen people are delusional about a divorce: kids and assets. With kids, everyone screams about how much of a peen their spouse is and how the kids just absolutely hate that person. 9 times out of 10, the kids just want to move on and get back into a normal routine. They don't care a whole lot about the faults of each parent. With assets, most people don't realize that being married really is a partnership and that there are ways other than earning income that a spouse contributes to the marital pot. Nearly without fail, the higher earning spouse is adamant that the court will be shocked by how little their spouse did and how there is no chance in hell their assets are going to be divided 50/50. When I practiced family law, a large portion of my job was tamping down expectations and having to just be real with people. Edit. A lot of people seem to be confusing alimony payments with division of marital assets. They are entirely different animals. Typically, the division of marital assets is solely based on when the assets were acquired and how they were acquired. On the other hand, alimony can be based on all kinds of factors, including, but not limited to, earning potential of each spouse, sacrifice of career by one spouse, spousal conduct, affairs, abuse, etc., expectation of lifestyle, many other factors that revolve around creating a smoother transition to single life as possible. In addition, I'm not advocating one doctrine or another. I'm simply trying to explain what it is about the law that many clients don't seem to understand about divorce when they sit down with me for the first time. If you don't like the current state of the law, get involved in the political process and change things. There are successful ballot and legislative initiatives sweeping the country right now that are at least championed as changing how courts treat fathers when it comes to divorce. Edit 2. Many of you see my username as odd for an attorney. I'll let you in on a little secret. Many of us lawyers are normal people that are just as depraved and perverted as the rest of you sick ducks. We just happen to have a job that often requires us to present an image of formality and decency. Regardless, Mel Gibson's taint is not listed on my business card. I love how your post pointed out the delusion, and every comment replies exhibiting exactly that delusion. Thanks for trying. I'm not a divorce lawyer, but I know a few of them. Pets. Everyone focuses on child support, but you have no idea how much acrimony is caused by who is taking the cat in the divorce. I've even heard of parents doing child-style visitation agreements and pet support. Spiteful hit. Like a wife trying to claim her ex-husband signed jersey just to burn it, or whatever. This happens all the time, and yet they all think that they are diabolical geniuses for wanting some asset, just for the revenge value. The worst is when they tell their lawyer how much they really love that jersey and how much sentimental value it has. Like they need to fool their lawyer. Itch. Your lawyer doesn't give a duck why you want the jersey, as long as you're paying him. Living together after divorce. Yeah. It's super weird. But a lot of couples own homes together and can't really quickly get out of that situation without simultaneously paying rent on a new place and mortgage on the old place. So they'll live together as they are divorcing and trying to sell the house. And even seeing other people. Which of course leads to more problems. Thinking that they have come up with some crazy new scheme that courts have never seen before that will allow them to keep everything and give their spouse nothing. And it's usually something illegal, generally hiding assets. And they've usually already started doing it. Living together after divorce. We lived together during the divorce. I wanted 50% custody of the kids. And I knew leaving the house was leaving the kids. So I didn't. And she wouldn't. So we lived together for a year while having the divorce. She dated. Brought me into the house. Had sex with them. etc. But I refused to leave until the custody was settled. I got my 50% and moved out the next day. Congrats on the 50/50 custody. I'm currently facing a similar dilemma. Out of curiosity, do you still pay child support even if custody is 50/50? I often receive warnings from clients about how clever or smart their spouse is and to be careful as to not let them manipulate me. I don't want to be insulting, so I just say something like I'm a professional, etc. In reality, the other spouse has never been very clever at all. They just had power over my client that they've built through long-term emotional and psychological abuse. The client is usually pretty delighted to finally see their abuser get ripped to shreds in court. Context: family lawyer working with domestic violence survivors. That was me going to my lawyer. I feel like I've escaped a cult. Congratulations for figuring out how to get out. Not so much about what do my clients think is unique, but something I've noticed: only the rarest of the rare client can understand how they are super illogical when it comes to their divorce. Divorce isn't rocket surgery, but almost everyone tries to make it that way. I've seen a number of friends get divorced. The level-headed ones will likely never be your client. They either do the paperwork themselves or hire a paralegal. Another confirmation. My ex and I worked everything out ourselves. Attended a couple of free workshops offered by the local family court and ended up paying a total of about $500 for filing fees and postage. We are both white-collar professionals with substantial assets, including a house and 2 young kids. It can be done, people. Asked a friend about this once. He said how many people come in peacefully together. It's not the big standard, and it's not everyone. But it happens way more than you'd expect. Both spouses just want the divorce and to move on. Apparently it happens quite a bit. He said that sometimes they'll devolve into a bit of a battle over assets. Rarely kids. But more often than not, if a couple comes in together, he has a bad day because he makes the least money off of them. He said one couple, collectively after their divorce, sent him a Christmas basket one year. Basically they wanted out, and he helped navigate the legalities of it. And everyone was happy. He also had a story of a woman who had to consult with 2 private investigators for her husband cheating. The first one she hired was the woman he was having an affair with. That would make a great romance/detective novel. This might be the next Toby Flenderson novel. Oh god. I know this one. 26 years in law practice, and 15 of those doing domestic relations cases, and now I finally get to say with authority, they think their spouse is the worst ever, and that their divorce is the most difficult ever. My most common answer to their on and on rants came to be, this is costing you about $5 a minute and we can make better use of my time. Besides, you're the one who married him. If I had a nickel for every time I wanted to tell a client, I don't really care about his criminal history from before you all were married, you knew and still married, and had a child with him, I'd be able to buy several cases of Diet Coke. You probably get a nickel at least every minute and a half in fees. Family attorney, graciously leaving that area. Literally everything. Everything is practically the same. Money, kids, earnings, allegations, nothing is unique. If you can put away your bullshit and relish the fact that you are no longer going to be with this person you don't want to be with, let's make it easy. I've had complex divorces go super easy, and I've had simple ones drag on for years out of spite. Listen to your attorney. You know what a good attorney does if he finds himself in a legal predicament? Gets an attorney. You're paying for his experience in the system. Almost guaranteed. If you go to trial, you will leave with less than you hoped for. You can 99% of the time get something better and cheaper if you agree. We don't want your case any longer than you do. If you have unrealistic goals and refuse to listen to our counsel, we will gladly bill you for the time. Most calls between attorneys start out, what does your client want to do? Followed by, I've told my client this, but they want to do that. 90% of the time I know, and the other attorney will know exactly how the court is going to rule. I have had countless hearings where we should have everything settled. One side won't agree, and we'll go and tell the judge the impasse, and that we are gonna put on this little bit of testimony and let the judge rule. Congrats. That's 3 hours billable. If you are going to trial, in most places, family law is like a weird office setting. It's the same attorneys interacting with each other on a weekly to daily basis. Same with the judges. I inform my clients they are to be respectful of the other attorney and the entire court staff. These are people I have ongoing business relationships with. If you see me having a friendly conversation with the other attorney prior to the hearing or even during a recess, We are not conspiring against you or just trying to milk you for all you have. Same thing. If you see the other attorney speaking with the judge, don't assume you are getting the shaft. They are likely social with the judge outside the courtroom. Like I am. If you have dedicated family judge and your attorney isn't on a good relationship with them, find another one. And please don't call me. If you have an emergency, talk to my assistant. She will determine if it is an emergency. It likely isn't. I will call you by the end of tomorrow. My friend has it in her contract that if it's an emergency, as defined by the client, her fee doubles. Yes. She is brilliant. As defined by the client? Damn, that's crafty. Family lawyer checking in late to the show. Women, any mother south of 35 years of age will almost always assume that the father is a negligent parent when the kids are with him and that the children are going to die in his care. Dads often have a different parenting style. Morley says fire that today's helicopter moms just can't wrap their ducking heads around. And these mothers are convinced that it's only their irresponsible husbands who are like this and other dads are way better at parenting. Men, that child and spousal support laws are so draconian in their specific case that they'll never be able to afford it. I mean, how are they supposed to afford a mortgage on the new condo and the truck payment and the motorcycle payment and servicing the joint credit card debt and line of credit and trip to Cuba and sparkly things for the new woman and Dan? They seem very shocked when I suggest downsizing their lifestyle in order to meet their legal and financial obligations and are convinced that their situation is special and deserving of some different magical support scale. You pretty much nailed my case on all points. As a guy, I've come to terms the points you mentioned about men. I think my ex-wife is adjusting to the points on women. Her initial contract proposal had all kinds of safety provisions for the kids, including her approving anyone I dated, and a clause about no alcohol. For starters. Edit, ex-wife, not wife. I need to approve anyone my ex-husband dates, for the safety of the kids. Of course. I do believe this is the most unreasonable thing I've ever heard. At least in Maryland people assume, because the spouse was cheating they will be able to get more money in alimony from the judge than they would have gotten otherwise. Texas family law attorney. How controlling their spouse, usually husband, is. Verbal abuse. The husband only wants 50/50 possession of kids to waive child support. The wife only wants primary conservatorship to receive child support. Constantly thinking spouse is purposefully delaying the case, even if it is a court scheduling issue or judge's order. Seeking supervised visitation of kids with no supporting basis. Usually husbands, thinking they shouldn't pay as much child support if they don't see their kids very much, when in fact it is the exact opposite. Withholding visitation of kids if the other spouse does not pay child support, at least in TX. Non-payment of child support is not a factor in visitation. Adultery. Even clients who are swingers allege adultery, which is impossible to prove in a swinger relationship. The spouse making less money thinks they are entitled to more, like an 80/20 division of property instead of a reasonable split. Not saying 50/50 is always fair, but it is usually close. Clients with a reimbursement claim demand the other spouse pay them $X, when the entire community estate is worth much less than $X. There are many more, but these are just off the top of my head. Fixed formatting. Texas family law attorney. How controlling their spouse, usually husband, is. Verbal abuse. The husband only wants 50/50 possession of kids to waive child support. The wife only wants primary conservatorship to receive child support. Constantly thinking spouse is purposefully delaying the case, even if it is a court scheduling issue or judge's order. Seeking supervised visitation of kids with no supporting basis. Usually husbands, thinking they shouldn't pay as much child support if they don't see their kids very much, when in fact it is the exact opposite. Withholding visitation of kids if the other spouse does not pay child support, at least in TX. Non-payment of child support is not a factor in visitation. Adultery. Even clients who are swingers allege adultery, which is impossible to prove in a swinger relationship. The spouse making less money thinks they are entitled to more, like an 80/20 division of property instead of a reasonable split. Not saying 50/50 is always fair, but it is usually close. Clients with a reimbursement claim demand the other spouse pay them $X, when the entire community estate is worth much less than $X. There are many more, but these are just off the top of my head. Holy hit. Reading all these comments makes me even more grateful that my divorce was amicable and a clean break. Even with kids. Didn't even use lawyers. My wife and I had no kids. Married 8 years. She's a cheating, lying, gold digging itch. And I can't ducking stand how shallow she is as a human being. But we did the divorce right. No lawyers. No bullshit. Just filed the paperwork and went our separate ways. We always promised each other if we ever split that's how we'd do it. I thank her and respect her for keeping that promise. If for nothing else. Yeah. Definitely for nothing else. Doot. Editing/deleting posts and comments that can be used to identify me. Ducking like and subscribe.